And we're on. Well, thank you for being with us here today. I'm Monica Perschetz. I'm the Vice President of Holding Company Partnerships at Spectrum Reach.
Thank you for having me. I'm Carrie Drinkwater. I'm the Chief Investment Officer at Carat.
Well, I'm excited to have this conversation with you because there's a lot of great work we're doing together that really lends itself to a lot of the conversations that are happening here about CES. And I could use every buzzword in the book, from precision to data to AI to transparency. But, it's kind of fun when you get to have a conversation where you're not rattling those off, because we're actually doing a lot of that together. And the stuff that we're not doing, we're acknowledging we're not doing it and we're planning for. So I think having a conversation with you about what we're doing now, what you hope we're doing tomorrow, from Carat's standpoint, what's most critical, is exciting as we kick off 2026. And I think, to start with that, transparency has been a huge theme. And as we talk to Carat or the larger Dentsu, interoperability has been a huge theme, right? Transparency is not necessarily a one-way street, but what can we share and what can you share to create a more effective media ecosystem for what you're trying to build for your clients? So I'd love to understand how you're thinking about that and what are good partners doing?
Well, first of all, you guys have been great partners. I mean, not only are you always open to feedback, dialogue, challenges, but you're wonderful humans, so we always appreciate that.
Likewise.
And I think, what we've challenged you with, and I think what you bring to us, and we've talked a lot about this, is transparency. And really being able to understand where we are putting our clients. I think we've lost that.
Mm-hmm.
We have been doing a lot of questioning lately about, we do so much work on our audiences and our data and our tech, and then it gets lost sometimes. Where does that land?
Yeah.
And without knowing where it lands, without knowing what you're airing, without the true transparency, which you guys do provide us, how can we learn from that? Because again, we will have results and we can have business results, but if we don't know what is working, it's hard to be better and learn from that. So I think the transparency and truly understanding the content, the user, the time, all these things that we can't seem to lock down. Again, we do a lot right, but there's a lot more that we can learn to be better.
Absolutely. And you're never doing just one thing for a client, right? You're never doing just 20 things for a client. However, because you're so fantastic at your job, but how do you connect what you're doing with your left hand with what you're doing with your right hand without that transparency? And tell me a little bit about some of the tools that either you are building or that you want your partners to participate in a different way to help connect all those dots for you.
Well, you will see from Dentsu, we are building, which I can't share what it is, but we're very excited. And what I've heard is it will revolutionize. It will truly challenge and change and differentiate us. So more to come on that. That's a little sneak peek. But again, the interoperability, the understanding of not only the long-term KPI, or not only the bottom of the funnel, but I think understanding what's building our brand to help us move. So the tech that not only helps us be better with our audiences, and again, we've done great work with you guys in matching and the fidelity and the data and all the things have been great, but helping us understand how we can collapse a funnel, how we can work with you on building brand, and how we can work with you on building performance. I think that's been magic. I think the true blending and being able to not just have it be a brand campaign or a performance campaign, the work that we do together, I think I know it's both. And that's special because you cannot do that with many partners, even though they say you can. So I think that's been a real benefit of the relationship.
Well, and we appreciate that and appreciate you putting our trust or your trust in us to do that. And I think part of that is you've built something where you've established an identity. We have an understanding of an identity. If we can be good actors in our partnerships where we are giving you the information from your campaigns with us to fuel your identity, to then understand which part of this was performance, which part of this was brand, and what happened first, second, third. I think the other thing is local and national. It's come up a lot, particularly in our conversations. Clients are seeking to understand, okay, the media industry seems to assess local and national so separately and transact local and national so separately. But if I'm Monica sitting in my home and I get a local campaign versus a national campaign, I'm still Monica. And I think having that unified understanding from your identifiers and the unified understanding of the household and the content from ours hopefully helps us give you insights. Hey, how many times did Monica see that ad from the local campaign? Is that something that's coming up more for you? Is there a way you're thinking about that?
I mean, I do think we're hearing more about not the power of local, but where clients, look, QSR, right?
Yeah.
That's a great example of where we need to look, where we need to heavy up. There's completely different dynamics in markets on when people are eating, what the weather is like, what their patterns are. So local obviously is so important to QSR. But what I think is super interesting when you talk about Monica, I am sure in the identity spine, there is someone that looks like Monica that lives in, I don't want to...
Not New York City.
Not New York City,
Yep.
right? Like a suburb in the Midwest. And her consumption, she may look like you to the T, but her consumption is probably very different in terms of her media consumption.
Yes.
So again, understanding identity, and we've done a great job, Mary, matching the identity with what we've been doing and what you guys are able to do, truly allows us to find Monica's. That might be the new name of the...
God help you.
no matter where they are, no matter what they're watching, if that is who I need to reach.
Yeah.
And if it's not who I need to reach, it's pivoting and saying, I do not want Monica. I need to understand how I can find Monica's partner, Monica's child, Monica's husband, whatever that may be. It may be someone else in your house that we need to start to look at. So again, it's separating who's in the home, where they live, and what will speak to them and what will resonate with them. Because again, we can build impressions, we can do a million marketing campaigns, but if it doesn't resonate with them, if it's not getting their attention, none of it matters. No one will transact on something that doesn't affect them. If they see it, great. But if it resonates with them, that's what we're hoping as marketers to be able to do.
I think that's great. And, hopefully in partnership, what we can say is, you have this campaign over here, you have this campaign over here. If we can understand holistically, hey, this person got both, what does that mean? How do we want to change that? How do we want to sequence that? It's not that they shouldn't get both, but what kind of messaging does that mean? Yeah. And I think we've been appreciative of all the strides you're taking to enable us to take part in that conversation and that solution.
We take great pride in our identity spine, and it is so robust. I came to Dentsu a year and a half ago, and again, the work that Dentsu has done to create their identity spine and their audiences is truly unique, and I think it gives them such a great advantage, not only what they've created, but how they transact against it. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, you're certainly putting your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
And, to pivot a little but stay on the same theme, how does addressable, I'm going to say addressable TV, but let's call it, TV, however you want to define TV, fit within your larger strategy? And I ask that not just from the lens of how we traditionally define audiences, but there's lots of ways to address addressable. You can say, I want the under-frequencied households, I want the over-frequencied households, and I want to serve them something different entirely. Where in your decisioning funnel of here's my top priority that I'm going to build, and I imagine it's different by client, but that I'm going to build the rest of my strategy around, where does addressable fall in that?
It's interesting because it should be unique. It is unique, and it should be unique by client. And when you think about addressable, when you think about the digital ecosystem, everything is addressable because you're serving on a one-to-one. And then when you start to talk about addressable on linear, it becomes this polarizing conversation, which is always wild to me. And I think, look, there is a national campaign that can be had, which again, if you're trying to build your brand, national content. But if you're trying to go down the funnel and really understand who your consumer is and what you want to say to them, there is nothing better than addressable. And look, for specific things, I always use this example, dog food.
Yeah.
That should definitely be addressable.
I don't have a dog. No matter how many times you serve me the ad, I'm not buying dog food.
And I actually get so many cat ads, and I have a dog, and no offense to cat people, I'm not a cat person, and it boggles my mind. But again, maybe 60 to 70% of clients, advertisers will have an addressable need, whether a car lease is up, whether they want to reach the consumer who was just there and they have a new promotion, whether it's almost like if you think about retargeting, understanding who your consumer is and speaking directly to them. There's always a point in time where marketers should consider it.
No, that's great to hear. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said it becomes this not tough conversation. I forget the exact word you used, but it becomes a binary conversation. Yes. I am an addressable advertiser. I am not an addressable advertiser. Right. I think we in partnership have taken big strides to take it a step back and say, call it whatever you want. Mm-hmm. That's the transaction. That's the targeting tactic. Are you interested in video buying? And with that video, are you looking to accomplish a human to take some sort of action, whether that's an action of thought, an action of body, an action of wallet, whatever it is?
Right.
If the answer is yes, we can probably help make sure that happens with some level of targetability. And I think changing the conversation that way is something you guys have done a great job of.
And I still think, again, I am an old school. I started as a TV buyer, but there is something so magical and special about video content, about being on the screen or on the device, but that sight, sound, and motion that evokes something that I don't think it will ever be the same as a static or something. There's just something special about it, so it needs to be thought of and treated and invested differently.
Absolutely. And I said I was going to try and avoid saying the buzzwords again, but I do think when we're talking about emotion and how to connect to those moments, so far, a lot of the AI we've been talking about in partnership has to do with the data, the identity, and the connectivity, and what we're training different systems to do. The other piece that we're exploring rather deeply is the content, and how can we use AI to foster those emotional connections and identify when they're going to be most powerful for brands. I imagine you get pitched a lot of those type tools all the time. Is that something that you're thinking of as a must-have? Is that something that you're thinking of, talk to me in a year? What's your stance?
Listen, I think culture is the DNA of Carat. And we know that when we've done so much work with Culture EQ, and we have a whole brand study, and we truly believe that a brand does better in culture. If a brand is invested in culture, it does better than just with media. And I think using AI or using technology to understand these hockey stick moments of what is building in culture, what is culture to you might not be culture to me. There's sneaker culture, there's food culture, so using AI to find moments that resonate, that again, back to attention, I just think it used to be, you'd have indexes, now you have real-time, real data signals that have impact in business results. And I think sky's the limit for the short term.
Oh, it's exciting. And I'll ask you one more question.
Yeah.
If we're sitting here a year from now, which I'm definitely going to make you do because I'm so appreciative of your time and insight.
I hope so.
What do you hope we're saying we accomplished in the past year?
Oh, God. Well, I would hope that together we will do something first to market.
Absolutely.
I hope we will do something that resonates in culture. And I hope we sit here next year and say, I can't believe we didn't think of that. We made it happen.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing this, Carrie. Always fun to chat with you.
Thank you. Enjoy CES.
Enjoy CES. Good luck with the rest of CES.
You.
Rest at CES.
Yes.
And I'll see you probably in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.